Hey friends, I'm Daniel Nesbitt and this is Designing a Sans Serif Typeface. I figured this week I would just keep doing what I was doing last week, where we go through a little bit of a time lapse as I get the uppercase letters taken care of this week instead. A lot of this is kind of rinse and repeat from what you saw last week. There's a few little differences between the two weights that I did go and make here, and for the most part you're not really seeing anything new from what I've done before. You will notice as I get to the G though, there is a little screen that pops up there. One of the things that I wanted to point out on that is typically, in addition to making sure your points and the direction that the shapes are drawn are the same, you also want to make sure that Glyphs is seeing each shape correctly between the two weights. You often notice when I'm drawing these letters that you'll see a number next to each shape, and it's just Glyph's way of tracking what piece is going where, and you want to make sure that when you're bouncing between two weights that it's matching the correct shape to the correct shape, if that makes sense. The other thing that I was really working on as well was just making sure that as the weight went up in a lot of these, that I was also making some optical adjustments, and you'll see that here in the Q with the leg there. Initially I just made it wider to the left and right, but went back and also adjusted the height of it as well. And that was kind of something that I was going back and forth on a number of these letters, particularly ones that have spaces that close up or things of that nature. The other thing that I was looking at as well was just making sure that, like on the R there, that the leg wasn't getting caught out too far away or too close to the right edge of it. As far as the S goes, I did, as you'll notice here, I kind of played around with that top right corner there. I ended up trimming this down a little bit, as you'll see, just because I started to feel like it was getting too wide in that direction. I did choose to leave it on the bottom because typically when you're drawing an S, you want to make sure that the bottom has a little bit more weight and a little bit more chunk to it than the top. For things like the T though, obviously again pretty straightforward, just basically pushing around squares there, which made things pretty easy. Again with the U, just kind of let that fly. For the V and even the W and the X, this is where we kind of run into some weight issues, particularly where the two strokes converge there. So what you'll see me doing here is actually tapering the strokes in, and effectively I'm just doing that on the two inner lines, I guess if you want to call it that, just to kind of help out with the weight a little bit and make sure that that looks good. As far as it went for the W, you'll see me again pretty much do the same thing here, but what you will notice is I didn't do this on the top apex. I only did that on the two bottom ones. The thing is that as much as you want to keep the weight, you also don't want the middle to get too light. And I think too, just kind of, effectively what it is it's the top stroke there that gets a little bit lighter. I think it ends up working, but we'll see as we go if that actually makes sense. The X really was a lot easier than I was expecting it to be. I do kind of have that cross or that break in the middle of it, which actually seemed to hold up pretty well. Again, even with the Y, it was pretty straightforward. The Z, as much as I was kind of wondering how this was going to work, because you'll notice I am kind of pushing that center stroke around a little bit, that actually ended up working out pretty well. So all in all, there you go. It's kind of a speed run, if you will, through what I did and where I'm at with the typeface, but honestly I think it ended up turning out pretty well. So if you have any thoughts or input on where this is going, by all means I'm interested in hearing what you have to say, but for the most part, there you go. This means that next week we'll obviously be looking at the numbers, and then I definitely want to start getting into some paragraph text as well. So if you haven't, make sure you like and subscribe. And as always, like I said, leave some comments if you have any input or anything like that on where this is going. But as always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next episode.